There are a lot of people living in Seoul, and there are a lot of single-person households. I know that most of them live in Seoul to work. What does love mean to them, and do they really need it? Right now, young people in Korea are not getting married. And even if marriage and love are two different things, it feels like they don't love much. Some people say they have no intention of loving now. When I hear this, I don't understand a little bit. I don't want to love? I don't think love is a quality that you can say you have or don't have, because I think love is an emotional realm, not a rational one. So I don't think it makes sense to say you don't think about love. Maybe because you know that you don't take the chance to meet the opposite sex, because if you don't meet the opposite sex, you don't have the chance to fall in love, and I think that's what's going on right now. I don't understand that either, because I think you're supposed to be able to meet someone in a natural way. There are quite a few works about love by people who live alone. Single in Seoul is one of them. It's a story about a young man and woman living alone in the huge city of Seoul. Lee Dong-wook Young-ho is currently a thesis lecturer. During his lectures, he speaks firmly. He tells them to do what he tells them, that essay writing is a skill to a certain extent, and that they just have to write what they're told. Originally, he had dreams of winning a literary fiction prize, but now he's so content with his single life. I avoid getting close to the opposite sex altogether. In the movie, he eats alone and reads a book. They say that eating alone has become common these days, but I thought it was really amazing to read a book in a restaurant. Lee Dong-wook posts photos and simple phrases on social media, and he's very sensible. A publishing company sees this and offers him an essay. It's called Single in the City, which is also the title of the movie. Seoul is written by Lee Dong-wook, and Barcelona is written by another female writer. I contact Lee Dong-wook and meet him because he's the editor-in-chief. The editor-in-chief is Im Soojeong Yun-jin. It turns out they were both in the same class at university, and she was working as an editor at a publishing house. At first, Lee Dong-wook is a bit dismissive and doesn't show much interest. But it's everybody's dream to write a book, and she tries to convince him to join her. The idea is to show what it's like to be single in Seoul, and to do that, she's going to use the medium of Seoul and herself to make a book. She's going to go around Seoul and take pictures and put them in the book. When you write a book, you can't help but put yourself out there. Even if it's a novel, it's the same. No matter how much you imagine it, you can't help but put yourself out there. If you've written and published several books, it might be different, but otherwise, you can't help but start from yourself. That's why Lee Dong-wook's book has a first love story in it, and the publisher requested it. I told him that there are people who like it even if it's a side story, so he did it. He met his first love, Isam, at a hotel. They moved in together and made love. He wrote a book about it, but it didn't make it into a novel. Isam later dumped him and broke up with him. He met several women after that, but he eventually decided to stay true to himself. He realized that the money he used to spend on his girlfriend was so satisfying to spend on himself. He realized that he hadn't met the love of his life because he was lonely and didn't get anything out of the women he dated. He was afraid to meet a woman he liked because he was closed off. He and Im Soojeong traveled to different places to get to know each other. Love can spark every time you meet, but it can also creep in this way. You get to know them little by little, and the more you get to know them, the more you like them, and then you start to have feelings for them. At that point, Lee Dong-wook and Im Soojeong almost kiss. That's what happens when your feelings for the other person explode in an instant. After that moment, Lee Dong-wook tries to hold back. Instead of actively approaching Im Soojeong, he goes back to his normal behavior. In this situation, he meets an author in Barcelona who has written a book. They were going to publish it together in Seoul and Barcelona, but they didn't know it was Isam. Their first love, because they each wrote about their first love in their own books, and their accounts of their first love were strangely different. Lee Dong-wook feels a deep sense of betrayal. We all have memories that we color and distort to our advantage. Lee Dong-wook and Yi Sam are both supportive of each other now. Soojeong is in the middle, siding with Lee Dong-wook, but playing it cool. She encourages Lee Dong-wook to keep writing. The movie doesn't have a sugary romance. It's a realistic romance, as in Single, and I don't know if it's because it's a romance for 30-somethings. It's a realistic love rather than an ideal one. I wish it was a bit of a romantic comedy.